Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Hare Krishna. Good morning, devotees. My name is Manjari Gopika Devi Dasi, and today we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, verses 33 through 43, focusing on verse 33. I ask for your blessings that I may speak something pleasing to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all the devotees. Let's begin by chanting the invocation prayers together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarvasvatim vyasyam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Canto 4, Chapter 30, beginning at verse 33, reading through 43. We can take turns, just 10 verses. But before we start, just a little context. So the Prachetas, we've been hearing about, they performed severe austerities to please the Supreme Lord, following the instructions of their father and Lord Shiva. We saw him a couple of chapters ago. So after 10,000 years of penance, Lord Vishnu appears before the Prachetas because he's very pleased with their devotion. He blesses them, and he instructs them further on devotional service. So now we are hearing their prayers in response to Lord Vishnu. Nanda Prabhu, do you want to begin?
Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world due to our material contamination and wander from one type of body to another and from one planet to another, we pray that we may associate with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction, life after life, in different bodily forms and on different planets.
Even a moment's association with a pure devotee cannot be compared to being transferred to heavenly planets or even merging into the Brahman, effulgence and complete liberation. For living entities who are destined to give up the body and die, association with pure devotees is the highest benediction.
Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. Do you want it?
The Supreme Lord Narayan is present among devotees who are engaged in hearing and chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Narayan is the ultimate goal of sannyasis, those in the renounced order of life, and Narayan is worshipped through this Sankirtan movement by those who are liberated from material contamination. Indeed, they recite the holy name again and again.
Dear Lord, your personal associates, devotees, wander all over the world to purify even the holy places of pilgrimage. Is not such activity pleasing to those who are actually afraid of material existence?
Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you, and who is your most intimate friend, we were fortunate to attain you. You are the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of our great fortune, we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet.
Dear Lord, we have studied the Vedas, accepted a spiritual master, and offer respect to Brahmanas. Advanced devotees and eight personalities who are spiritually advanced, we have offered our respects to them, and we have not been envious of any brother, friends, or anyone else. We also have undergone severe austerities within the water, have not taken food for a long time. All these spiritual assets of ours are simply offered for your satisfaction. We pray for this benediction and nothing more.
Dear Lord, even great yogis and mystics who are very much advanced by virtue of austerities and knowledge, and who have completely situated themselves in pure existence, as well as great personalities like Manu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva, cannot fully understand your glories and potencies. Nonetheless, they have offered their prayers according to their own capacities. In the same way, we, although much lower than these personalities, also offer our prayers according.
The mic has a battery issue, I think. Okay. As she finished by reading, also offer our prayers according to our own capability.
Dear Lord, you have no enemies or friends, therefore you are equal to everyone. You cannot be contaminated by sinful activities, and your transcendental form is always beyond the material creation. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because you remain everywhere within all existence. You are consequently known as Vasudeva. We offer you our respectful obeisances.
The great sage Maitreya continues, My dear Vidubhira, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the protector of surrendered souls, being thus addressed by the Prashetas and worshipped by them, replied, May whatever you have prayed for be fulfilled. After saying this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose prowess is never defeated, left. The Prashetas were unwilling to be separated from him because they had not seen him to their full satisfaction.
Thank you. We'll return now to verse 33, which is our focus verse for today. So in the interest of time, because we have a lot of nice things to hear today, we'll do the Sanskrit, call and response, and then we'll chant it one time all together and proceed from there. Yavate mayaya sprishta Brahmama iha karmabhi Tavad bhavat prasanganam Sangasyanno bhave bhave. Together. Yavate mayaya sprishta Brahmama iha karmapi Tavad bhavat prasanganam Sangasyanno bhave bhave. Let's do the synonyms together. Yavat, as long as. Te, your. Mayaya, by the illusory energy. Sprishta, contaminated. Brahmama, we wander. Iha, in this material world. Karmapi, by the reaction of fruitive activities. Tavat, so long. Bhavat prasanganam, of your loving devotees. Sangha, association. Syat, let there be. Na, our. Bhave bhave, in every species of life. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world due to our material contamination and wander from one type of body to another and from one planet to another, we pray that we may associate with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction, life after life, in different bodily forms and on different planets. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is the best benediction that a devotee can ask of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shtani Shtita Shruti Gatam Tanuvan Manobhi, Bhagavatam 10.14.3. One may be in one position or another according to destiny, but in any case, one must continue to hear about the activities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord regardless of circumstances. A pure devotee does not pray for liberation or for cessation of the cycle of birth and death because he does not consider that important. The most important thing for a devotee is getting a chance to hear about the pastimes and glories of the Lord. The devotees who engage in the service of the Lord in this world will have the same opportunity in the spiritual world also. Thus, for a devotee, everything is in the spiritual world. For as long as he can hear about the pastimes of the Lord, or wherever he can chant, the Lord is personally present. Yatra gayanti mad bhakta tatra tishtami narada. When the pure devotees assemble to chant, hear, and talk about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the place where they assemble becomes Vaikuntha. For the devotee, there is no need to pray to the Lord for transferal to the Vaikuntha world. A pure devotee can create Vaikuntha or Vrindavan anywhere simply by chanting the glories of the Lord without offense. The Prachetas pray for an opportunity to hear of the glories of the Lord in every form of life. Bhave bhave. A living entity transmigrates from one body to another. The devotee is not particularly eager to stop this process. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Mama Janmani Jamanishvari Bhavatad Bhaktira Haituki Tvayi. My dear Lord, life after life may I be fixed in your pure devotional service. Out of humility, a devotee considers himself unfit to be transferred to the spiritual world. He always thinks himself contaminated by the modes of material nature. Nor is there any need for a devotee to ask to be freed from the modes of material nature. Devotional service itself is in the transcendental position. Therefore, there is no question of asking for this special facility. The conclusion is that a pure devotee is not anxious to stop the repetition of birth and death, but is always eager to associate with other devotees who are engaged in chanting and hearing about the glories of the Lord. So today, we will discuss devotee association, the desire, the unique desire of the pure devotee, and the importance of hearing about Krishna. This verse talks about how strikingly different devotees are from karmis, jnanis, impersonalists, and yogis. Karmis ask for what? Material things. Jnanis ask for, and impersonalists ask for moksha, or to merge into the Brahman. Devotees of the Lord ask for, and particularly here this verse says association. That's all they're asking for, is association of other devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, pure devotee of the Lord, prayed for the association of devotees. In the 9th canto, chapter 9, he tells Lord Nrsimhadev, I've now experienced everything there is to experience in this material world, from mystic powers to opulence, from Lord Brahma all the way down to the ant. All of these things are destroyed by time. Therefore, all I'm asking from you is to place me in touch with your pure devotee and let me serve him. Dhruva Maharaj also asked for association. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4.9.11, he says, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Association of devotees is actually the most important item of devotional service. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Majjhilila 22.83, Lord Chaitanya says, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hai Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Prema Janme Tenho Puna Mukhya Anga. The root cause of devotional service to the Lord Krishna is association with advanced devotees. Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, association with devotees is still most essential. So there's no point where you're like, I've got it, I've got Krishna Prem, I can go sit and do bhajan now. No, it's always essential. And in the subsequent verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says, association with a pure devotee for even half a moment in this material world is the greatest treasure of human society. The spiritually powerful message of Godhead can be properly discussed only in a society of devotees, and it is greatly pleasing to hear that in association. If one hears from devotees, the way of transcendental experience quickly opens. Gradually one attains firm faith, and in due course develops attraction and devotion. As noted in today's verse, and as we just mentioned, a pure devotee does not pray for liberation or even from the cessation of the cycle of birth and death because they do not consider it important. What is important? The most, yes? Praising the Lord. But in this verse specifically, yes, and this does please the Lord. In this verse, it says, the most important thing for a devotee, for a pure devotee, is getting a chance to hear about the pastimes and glories of the Lord. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport. And the pure devotee, the Krishna conscious person, can go even to hell and still be happy. Prahlad Maharaj says, Naivod Vijay Paradurataya Vaitaranaya. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is further explained in Bhagavatam 6.17-28. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are only interested in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in heavenly planets and the hellish planets are equal. Why? Because a devotee doesn't actually live in heaven nor in hell. They're living with Krishna in the spiritual world, wherever they are. And the pure devotee is so compassionate, so magnanimous, that they don't care about liberation. They don't want to keep this Krishna Prem all to themselves. In the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj says to Lord Nrsimhadev, my dear Lord Nrsimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Such compassion. We see that with all the pure devotees of the Lord, especially Srila Prabhupada. In every condition he was in, when he had followers, when he didn't have followers, when he was in poor health, when he was in better health, he just wanted to give Krishna to people. He had no desire to, quote unquote, as we would say in America, make it big. He just couldn't be happy knowing there were people out there who didn't know about Krishna. So the living entity wanders within the universe life after life, but by the grace of a devotee like Srila Prabhupada or like Narada Muni, they can get a clue about Krishna consciousness and go back. One of my favorite verses in Canto 11, Chapter 2, Verse 6, it says, those who worship the demigods receive reciprocation from the demigods in a way just corresponding to the offering. The demigods are attendants of karma, like a person's shadow, but sadhus are actually merciful to the fallen. So many people pray to the demigods for help, but the demigods can only give you what your karma states they can give you, because they're empowered by the Lord to follow precisely these rules to help him manage this. So they can follow the laws of your karma to either give you happiness or distress. And just like a shadow follows a body wherever you go, right? You do this, the shadow's arm goes up. You do this, the shadow's arm goes up. Your shadow can't do anything different than your body is doing. Similarly, the demigods can't punish or reward you differently than what your karma has stated. And although they are millions of times more powerful than the human beings, they're ultimately under the control of the Supreme Lord's laws. On the other hand, devotees of the Lord like Narada Muni, like Srila Prabhupada, like your spiritual master, by their preaching, can interfere in the karma of a living entity by giving you actual knowledge, by freeing you of your past karma, and giving you a chance to reestablish your relationship with Krishna. And in the end, yes, go back to him. Therefore, it's stated many times in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastre Kai, Lava Mastra Sadhu Sange Sarva Siddhi Hai. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. Time and again in the scriptures, we see that a unique feature of the pure devotee is when they have direct audience of the Supreme Lord himself, they do not ask to stay with him, and they do not ask for his association. Rather, what do they ask? Right, devotee association. Can you imagine you're standing in front of God, Krishna, and you don't even want to spend time with him. You're asking him to let you spend time with his pure devotees. That means that this benediction is higher than associating with the Supreme Lord himself. Because in the association of devotees, you get something that you cannot get from him. What is that? Any guesses? Yes. Yes. More specifically. What can you do with the devotees that you cannot? Exactly, Nanda Rajpur. You can discuss Krishna's pastimes. You can hear about it. Krishna's not going to glorify himself. Krishna's not going to say, let me tell you about the time I danced on this serpent and it had 10 heads. Krishna's not going to tell you, do you know how compassionate I am? That when my friend was struggling, that Brahman, do you know how little I care about the order of society you're born in? When my best friend came to visit me, Sudama, Krishna's not going to tell you these things. But in the association of devotees, what happens? Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayanchaschamam necham tushanchicha ramanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Devotees of the Lord are 24 hours a day engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Lord. In the 9th chapter, Krishna even says, Satatam kirtayanto mam, always chanting my glories. Their hearts are constantly submerged in Krishna, and so that's why they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. There's one common feature here. There's constant hearing and chanting, and this is the greatest benediction in the entire creation that karmis can't understand. Devotees ask the Lord for the association of other devotees. And what do karmis ask for? Material things. Prabhupada said, the people will always say to him, Sadhu, give me blessing, Sadhu, give me blessing. Give, give, give. Give me house, give me beautiful wife, give me beautiful children. Give, 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 Sadhu, give. And there's a story about Srila Prabhupada, maybe you've heard. He was in India on a train, and a man saw him in his saffron, and he came into his compartment on the train, and he said, Swamiji, give me blessing. Please, 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 Swamiji, give me blessing. Swamiji, bless me. Prabhupada ignored him at first. He continued to do whatever he was doing. At one point, Prabhupada stood up and he exited the compartment, and the man followed him. Swamiji, please, please give me blessing. Please, Swamiji, please. Finally, Prabhupada turned to him and said, I bless you that your material life is finished. And the man literally fell to the floor and started begging, no, Swamiji, no, not that, Swamiji, please, no, not that blessing, Swamiji, please, no. Prabhupada said, no, I've already blessed you. Jnanis want to merge. There's no association there. At most, they address each other as Narayans. They greet each other with Namo Narayana, which means I offer my respect unto you, Narayana. You're Narayan, I'm Narayan, we're all Narayan, we're all God. And they worship their guru as Narayan. But why? Not out of bhakti. Because they use that worship as guru to themselves becoming guru and then being promoted to the Brahman. So in neither of these categories of people, Jnanis, Karmis, Mayavadis, they don't ask for association because they don't want to hear the glories of the Lord. The Ashtanga yogis, what is their goal? To reach samadhi, to have darshan of the Paramatma, the super soul. There is some bliss for them, unlike the others, and they are higher than the other categories because the yogis at least realize once they reach samadhi and they have darshan of the four-handed form of Lord Vishnu, they then have a realization that this is not the end. This samadhi I've been working for, now that I see the Lord, this is not the end. This is the beginning. I need to serve him. So they then willingly take birth in a family of devotees or in an aristocratic family. That's explained in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter. Once in India, Srila Prabhupada was at a temple, and there was a cat wandering the grounds, and the cat came up to Srila Prabhupada, started rubbing at him, and tried to, get on his feet, rub against his feet. And the disciples tried to shoo the cat away, but Prabhupada stopped them. He said, that cat was a yogi in his past life, and he came here to get the dust of my lotus feet. So yogis are higher, but still, they're not asking for hearing and chanting. They're not asking for association. After the Brahma Vimohan Lila, Lord Brahma said to Krishna, I really messed up. And then he said, because of this position I have, I get puffed up. Can you please bless me to be born as a dog in the courtyard of a devotee so that I may always associate with your devotees and hear your glories and never forget my real position? In the 10th canto, we hear how the Nagapatnis and the village women of Dwarka became attached to Lord Krishna simply by hearing about him. Real, actual Krishna prem awakened in their hearts, even though they had never seen him. They only heard other devotees talk about him. How did Rukmini fall in love? By hearing the glories of Krishna and his sweet pastimes. We have so many examples how by simply hearing one gets attached and develops love for Krishna. And where do you get to hear about Krishna? With devotees, from devotees, only in the association of devotees. No university is talking about him. There's no TED talk about him. The Jnanis don't talk about him. Sukadev Goswami was a Brahmin realized Jnani called a Brahmavadi, which is a step above Mayavadi. But how did he become a pure devotee? He left his father's house by Vyasadev's arrangement. He entered a forest where a disciple of Vyasadev was living, and he heard the disciple chanting 2 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Just 2. The first one was, Aho Bakiyam Stanakala Kutam Jikam Sayapaya Yadapyasadvi Lebhe Gatim Daturjitam Tatonyam Kamva Dayalam Sharanam Vrajema. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he, who granted the position of a mother to a she-demon Putana, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. And the second verse he heard, this meter is a little more difficult for me, so forgive me. Barha pitam natavara vapukarnayo karnikaram biprad vasakanakapisham vayajantam chamalam rantaram venoradara sudaya purayayan gopi vrindar vrindayanam svapadaramanam pravishad gita kirti. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue karnikar flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. As soon as he heard these two verses, Sukadev Goswami said, "Who? Wait, I want to know about this person. Who is he? And he's so magnanimous, and he's beautiful. He's so beautiful. Can you tell me more? Who is this?" And this is the power of hearing about Krishna from a devotee. This is why Srila Rupa Goswami talks about how the two most important items of devotional service are hearing and associating with devotees. And Prabhupada gives us the process of what to do daily, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22.131, Lord Chaitanya says, one should taste the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees, and one should associate with the devotees who are more advanced than oneself and who are endowed with a similar type of affection for the Lord. When we look at today's Bhagavatam verse, just imagine what the pure devotees most desire is what we're doing right now. They don't aspire for anything beyond that. And lastly, I'll share this verse. Prabhupada puts it in a lot of his purports. The Supreme Lord himself says, Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayeshu va tatra tishtami narada yatra gayanti mad bhakta. Naham tishtami vaikunte. What's the Lord saying here? Naham tishtami vaikunte. I am neither in Vaikunta, because that's where what do people aspire for, Vaikunta, to reach that. But he says, don't look for me there. I'm neither in Vaikunta. Yoginam hridayeshu va. I am not in the heart of the yogi, because that's their desire, to see the Lord within the heart. But then he clarifies in the final line, Yatra gayanti mad bhakta. I am where my glories are chanted. So the full translation is, my dear Narada, actually I do not reside in my abode Vaikunta, nor do I reside within the hearts of the yogis, but I reside in that place where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my form, pastimes, and qualities. So whenever we feel down or we feel disconnected or there's some kind of crisis of faith, maybe not crisis, but a little glitch in our faith, we should have faith that the Lord is here, where his glories are being sung. And that's the greatest benediction. Hare Krishna. That's all I have prepared. I'd love to hear from you now.
This was such a nice class. Hare Krishna. Wow. Very well prepared. Thank you so much. Just from the start of your class, I wrote some notes when you were talking about the importance of devotee association, that no matter at what stage we're at, we always need it. And right away, I thought of the story of Bharat Maharaj. He was like a super exalted soul, and he just renounced everything, and he went to the forest to just do his meditation on Krishna. But he didn't have devotee association. So then he became attached to a deer, and then we know what happened after that. That's a really nice example. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just listening to my spiritual master, and he said the things that cause a fall down, which he says is really just a purification. Like a fall down doesn't mean the end. It's just another form of purification. We can look at Bharat Maharaj as that example. But he said the main causes are inattentiveness and offense of a Vaishnav, offending a Vaishnav. So Bharat Maharaj, yeah, he went off on his own, and probably because he had no association, became very inattentive of his mind and of his devotional service.
So much. I had another question also, because I had heard the two verses that Shukadev Goswami heard. One was from the Putana Leela, and I heard the other one had to do with the Leela of Krishna stealing the clothes of the cowherd girls.
Oh, interesting.
So I was wondering where that second verse comes from.
The second verse and sometimes there are slight variations among acharyas. So, but the second verse that I chanted, it's from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Canto 10, Chapter 21, verse 5.
I'll go check it out. Thank you.
10.21.5.
Thank you for such a nice class. Yeah, I really appreciate this topic and how, like you made this point that we always need association. And, you know, I kind of wish that, like, I don't know, we just really need to screw this into our brains somehow, just like get it in our head. Because I've seen, like, every single time someone falls away, every single time someone has difficulties, because they took association for granted. It's because they, you know, like, I don't know. This is just my own realization because I've just seen it so much. But, you know, even if you don't chant your rounds, even if you don't hear, even if you don't like do anything else, as long as you still stay with the devotees, you'll be okay at least. You know, you'll still like hang on by a thread, you know. But as soon as, like, you know, often, you know, I've lived in ashrams for a long time, and people have this idea that, oh, you know, I've gotten my training, I'm gonna be able to go back out there and, you know, not have any devotees around me for miles, and, you know, and, you know, yes, they did have such good training, they did have such a strong foundation, but it's just, I don't know, from what I've seen, it appears to be practically impossible to thrive as a devotee without Sangha, without regular Sangha. And yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm always worried about them, like, I don't think it's gonna work, you know what to do. We have to just screw it into our brain that we need association. We need it so bad.
Thank you so much. That's such a high realization for such a young man. But I guess you've had many, many lifetimes doing this. I actually just remembered the third thing. I was trying to remember, my service pastor said 3 things in the fall down. I remembered the first 2, right, which is inattentiveness. But the second one is false ego, and the third one is offending the Vaishnava. So we get that false ego that, right, I'm good now. I can go out and be on my own, and I don't need anybody else. That's false ego, always thinking I don't need anybody else. Hare Krishna.
Just want to say I found the spot where the verse is, and is the gopis are glorifying Krishna, and right after that, then Krishna comes and steals the clothes. So it's like connected like that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share any reflections, questions, comments?
I was just thinking also, like, whenever anybody would, you know, give some kind of praise or anything that I'm in the ashram, I always just tell them, like, no, you don't understand. It's because I'm so fallen. Like, I need to be here, else I would just be in Maya, you know. Devotee association is everything.
Yeah, it's one of the items of devotional service, and it's actually the most important. Hearing and chanting is important, but devotee and visiting the deity. Like so many people, they don't have deities in their homes, so they make it a priority to come here to the temple. That is wonderful. It is important, but we have to also associate with devotees.
I was really appreciating your point that Srila Prabhupada encourages us to daily associate with devotees by the Srimad Bhagavatam, going to Srimad Bhagavatam class. I was thinking and we're so fortunate as we're reading Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam. So not only are we getting his translations, but we get his purport. So we get to every day hear from Srila Prabhupada about his Bhagavata Katha. You know what I mean? He's speaking to us about the Supreme Personality. We're getting to hear from him, and it's just amazing how we can relish that and share that with amongst each other and expand on it, that he's giving us that opportunity to really dive in. It's really amazing.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Whenever people, on occasion, and it's not like common, but if somebody says, I gave a nice Bhagavata class, they liked my Bhagavata class, I always say, I just read Srila Prabhupada's purports. I didn't make any of this up. I have no realization. It's all Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Manjari Gopika.
Hare Krishna, Tulsi
Thank you
Saki.
for a very nice class. So I really appreciate the point about hearing and chanting and devotee association. And a few years ago, Devamrita Swami, when he'd come home, he mentioned that the farther we move away from the temple, the greater our problems become. And somehow that's always stuck in my mind. And I see how much easier it is for us, no matter what the situation of our neighborhood, the problems, just by us staying closer to the deities and closer to each other, we're able to associate and relish so much more. I mean, there's the point that we can make our homes a temple, which is great, but it's always nicer if you have like-minded devotees near your home and near the temple. So
Yes.
I'm just meditating on how much more we should always encourage devotees to come and live closer,
Yes.
and just help devotees find situations so that they can live and practice with the other devotees.
Jai.
Jai, jai.
I had the similar realization in my personal life. Of course, my husband, everybody knows my husband, he's been in ISKCON for almost 30 years. But he's also an advanced devotee, at least more advanced than me. I hope they're okay with me saying that. But he was the one who taught me that we have to stay near devotees. We have to stay, because in the beginning of, you're chanting and you're hearing and everything is new and fresh and exciting and you're so enlivened just by chanting your rounds and going to the temple once a week. But as you progress, you realize you need devotee association. You need those relationships. They are what help you progress. And it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that you should associate with those who are higher above you, higher than you, and also at your own level. But now that I've been working in the world too for a while, as opposed to like when you join in your mid-20s at ISKCON, the fact that I can go to work and whether it's from home or actually at the office and talk to people, non-devotees, and work with non-devotees, but then I can just leave it behind, because then I come home to devotees, and I hear in the morning, I go to the temple in the morning, and then I'm home with devotees at night, and that's what keeps you sort of, from, hopefully, from diving fully into more materialistic thinking, because you bookend your life with devotee association. So I agree, if at all possible, even if it means you have a long commute to your office like you do, like I do, to please take advantage of living in association with devotees.
Hare Krishna. I kind of had a question. I've seen sometimes, like, we need devotees. It's very necessary to be around devotees, but sometimes it's very difficult to be around devotees. And I know sometimes they say I just can't. I can't be. I don't know. it might be too intense to be around devotees for them, or maybe like just they rub them the wrong way, or they chastise them sometimes, or I've seen that devotees, they have a hard time getting along with other devotees. So yeah, I'm just wondering how do we make it as easy as possible to be in the association?
That's a nice question. I think there are different facets to that. I think we need to work out ourselves so that we are good association and that we're inviting to others, and we can always keep that door open. I also think that probably based on our past karma, based on our samskaras, it may take some time for us to develop that taste. I'll admit, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, I loved Bhagavad Gita. That is all I wanted to do. I wanted to read Bhagavad Gita, and I wanted to go to Bhagavad Gita class. Like, I liked kirtan, it was all right. I liked chanting, but I loved Bhagavad Gita. But for a while, like after Bhagavad Gita class, it was like, I need to go, like, I need a little Maya right now. Like, this is really heavy. This is so serious. Like, I just need to go, I want to go hang out with my girlfriends and, hear about their boy problems or whatever. Like, I felt like, oof, I needed to, like, shake this off, kind of. And I think it just took some time for me to adjust my consciousness to, like, actually, this is the real world. The Bhagavad Gita is real, and it doesn't have to be scary. We can relish it, we can enjoy it, and it didn't feel so heavy anymore. I hope that, does that make sense? I think it just takes time. Like, I used to be fine with hearing Srimad Bhagavatam once a week, Now I want to hear it all the time. It's just the more you show up, I think maybe those desires fall away a bit. But also, it's just anybody, who's had a long-term friendship, or anybody who's had a long marriage will say just having a relationship with somebody is challenging because it's your ego with their ego, And I think also when we're a new devotee, we don't fully understand that we know nothing, because nobody in our life has ever told us, you are nothing, you know nothing. Everybody is like, you're doing so good at work, I'm gonna give you a promotion, and your parents are like, I'm so proud of you, honey, you got straight A's. And then you come here and it's like, you need to bow to that person, and no, don't stand like that, stand over here. And so I think it's like jarring, and we can feel offended until we understand the culture and we understand the context, and that nobody's out to get us. We're all just walking each other home. Hare Krishna. Are there any final closing thoughts?
Sometimes it just helps to, if it's hard to work with this group of devotees, can't work, move to another group of devotees.
Oh, I like that.
If you like to live in nature, go to a farm project that is, established, not just like, okay, let's start another one. I mean, you can, but then again with the association of devotees. So just by ourselves taking off somewhere is, I think, less recommended.
Sure.
Okay. Also, I've seen sometimes that when people first enter devotee association, they have this idea that everyone's a pure devotee.
Yes.
It's the Kanishta mindset to not be able to differentiate so much. So they're expecting everyone to be on a pure, liberated platform, and then they realize that actually the devotees might not be pure devotees. And so, yeah, I guess how would we advise them to deal with that? How do we deal with that ourselves when we expect so much from people, and then it turns out that they're actually human beings? They're actually not,
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I've had to, first of all, if at all possible, find one senior devotee that can be in your life. Obviously, you need your spiritual master, but you should always find one senior, whether it's someone close to you or whether it's a person at the temple, someone that you can constantly learn from and get their association and get their advice. For me, that's my husband. I'm very fortunate. I just got to text him. But how can we I recently had to have the realization too that, like, I'm not a pure devotee, they're not a pure devotee, we're all influenced just by the modes of material nature. We're all under the modes of material nature, and then we come here and we try to do better, but that's the reality. And I'm sorry, I want to look for this quote from Srila Prabhupada I shared recently, and we can close on that. It's going to take me a minute to find it, I think. I posted it in the group a while ago. It was about the first class men, that we can't expect that. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. This is a lecture Prabhupada gave January 3rd, 1967 in New York. Suppose you are in this Krishna conscious society. Now you cannot expect that all the members of the society will be first-class men. How can we expect? We are collecting members of the society from all classes of men. So there may be a man in goodness, a man in passion, a man in the ignorance. But if you think, oh, this man is not good, that man is not good, oh no. You should be tolerant. You haven't got any connection with this man or that man. You are connected with the philosophy, with the process of life, and you are connected. Just like the same example. Suppose you are on a ship. You do not find just all the men on the ship to your choice. There may be different kinds of men, but what is that to you? You have to cross the Atlantic Ocean, patiently cross. Just sit down tightly on the ship and take advantage of the opportunity. That is your business. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai.